When you're sitting in a movie theater holding your popcorn, you just assume it's all pretty simple. Lights go down, projector comes on.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the documentation for a modern projection booth, I mean, it's just chaos behind that little glass window. It's a full-on IT network.
It really is a digital ecosystem. And today, we're diving into a piece of hardware that sort of claims to be the central nervous system for that whole operation. It's the QSC DCIO-H.
Right, the digital cinema input-output. We've got the spec sheets here,
Right.
and it's a single rack unit, comes in at around, what, $3,200?
Yeah, about that.
Which feels steep for just an interface box, but the sources are calling it a universal translator. So what's the actual problem this thing is solving?
Well, the problem is what we call the spaghetti of analog cables. Traditionally, you had copper running absolutely everywhere.
From the projector to the amps, all that stuff.
Exactly. From the projector to the processors to the monitors. The DCIO-H just streamlines it. It grabs the audio right from the projector's integrated media block, the IMB.
Which is basically the brain of the projector.
The brain and the hard drive, yeah. And it routes that audio straight onto the network.
Using that QLAN protocol we've seen in other QSC gear.
Correct. So instead of a dozen physical audio cables, the sound is just data traveling over a standard Ethernet cable to a QSYS core processor.
So you're moving the whole audio path into software.
You are. It allows for a full system approach. You manage the audio in the OS not by physically plugging in a wire.
It's cleaner for sure.
Oh.
But looking at the model name, that H seems to be doing a lot of work here. I mean, cinema gear is usually so focused on DCPs, the proprietary movie files.
Right.
This H seems to be admitting that theaters aren't just for blockbuster movies anymore.
The H is for HDMI, and that, right now, is the killer feature for theater operators. It lets the projectionist plug in what the industry calls non-sync sources.
Non-sync being the polite way of saying anything that isn't the main feature.
Yeah.
Right? Like a laptop for corporate presentation or a gaming console.
A gaming console, a Blu-ray player, for a classic film night, you name it. In the past, getting that kind of consumer gear to work with a huge cinema sound system was just a nightmare.
Adapters and buzzing noise.
Oh, a total mess. The DCIO-H just standardizes that whole process.
And I'm seeing on the spec sheet, it actually handles the decoding onboard.
It does. It natively supports consumer formats like Dolby Digital Plus, Dolby Surround 7.1, even DTS HD. So you don't need a separate clunky decoder box anymore.
You just plug in the laptop.
You plug it in, and this unit translates that signal into something the massive stadium speakers can actually use.
That is a huge friction remover. But I'm looking at the rear panel diagram, and this thing's a Swiss Army knife. It's doing way more than just audio routing. I see automation ports, RS-232, GPI, relays. Why on earth does an audio box need to control relays?
Because the movie experience isn't just about the sound, right? It's the environment. Those relays allow the audio box to trigger physical events in the real world.
So when the movie starts,
when the DCIO-H gets that cue from the movie file, it can send a signal to dim the house lights or to open the velvet curtains.
So it's bridging the digital content with the physical room itself.
Precisely. And it even has a standard XLR mic input with phantom power.
Oh, for announcements.
Yeah. So when the manager needs to come in and say, please turn off your cell phones, they don't need a separate mixer. They plug right into this, and it routes them to the main PA system.
And speaking of the human side of things, we have to talk accessibility. The documentation makes a big deal about dedicated outputs for HI and VI.
Hearing impaired and visually impaired systems, it's basically compliance in a box. Instead of needing extra gear to feed the hearing aid loops or the narrative audio headsets for the visually impaired, this unit it splits those signals out automatically.
Makes the whole regulatory side easier.
Much easier.
And it seems designed to keep the projectionist in the booth, too. I notice a passive speaker output here.
That's a favorite feature for operators, definitely. It's a powered output. You can hook a small speaker directly to the back of the unit.
To monitor the audio locally.
Right, to hear exactly what's happening in the auditorium without having to run out into the hallway to check if the sound is actually working. You can hear the mix right there at the rack.
And since this lives in that Q SYS ecosystem, I'm guessing the control isn't just the little buttons on the front panel.
No, the front OLED is just for quick checks. The real power is in the software in QSYS Designer. You can build your own user control interfaces, UCIs.
So you could theoretically put the volume controls and input switching on an iPad for the manager.
You could put the entire theater operation on an iPad. Input switching, volume, lighting cues, curtain triggers, All of it, accessible remotely.
So if we zoom out then, this $3,200 box is really replacing a separate decoder, a monitor amp, a messy patch bay, and a custom control interface.
It's consolidation. It's the industry admitting that a projection booth is no longer a mechanical room. It's an IT server room now.
Yeah. Which, that leads to a bigger thought. When you see hardware designed like this, where the HDMI input for a gaming console gets just as much engineering attention as the main cinema projector input, it feels like a signal.
A signal of what?
That the era of the dedicated film house might be over. Tools like the DCIOH are built to help theaters transition into being, well, fully multi-purpose, multimedia event spaces. They have to be versatile to survive.
That is the reality. The hardware is just following the business model.
Something to chew on the next time you see a PowerPoint slide up there on the silver screen. Thanks for listening to this deep dive.